A man interrupts a church sermon at Jesus' Dwelling Place Church in Pennsylvania on Sunday when he pointed a gun at the pastor's head. By the grace of God, a miracle happens in which the gun jams, giving the parishioners time to subdue and take down this gunman. This is truly a miracle. If at the end of this video you don't believe in miracles, I don't know if you're awake.
Kingdom Team Live.
Hey, what's going on, Kingdom Team Live? I'm Terry Cuthbertson, and we're going to look at this harrowing event that just went down this weekend in which an armed gunman had horrible intentions to unalive a local pastor during his sermon in front of his 14-year-old daughter. And so in this, what we're going to do is we're just going to watch a couple of interviews of Pastor Glenn Germany, the pastor of Jesus Dwelling Place Church, and just hear his testimony of the miracle he experienced. Now, some of y'all may be like, well, if God is good, why did he even let this happen? Well, I don't have that answer. Here's what I know, that at point blank, this would have been a disaster had the gun not jammed. So to me and to the pastor, we are believing this is a miracle. So let's watch this and you decide for yourself.
But I thank God that we had extended praise and worship today, because my daughter was here and another young lady was here and they're singers, and we just wanted to praise. And so we extended praise and worship. But while we were praising and worship, a guy came in and he, and it's not uncommon for people to come in, hear the music and go back out. A guy came in, he stood in the back of the church for a second, and then I'm up here singing praise and worship, and he walks out. And then he comes back in again and he walk out again. But now this time it's time for the message. And my brother calls me up because he leads the service, and he calls me up and time for me to present the message. Now, when I go up to start presenting the message, the guy was sitting in the back, and he moved from the back and he moved to the front seat over here in the corner. And when he moved in the corner, he got up when I started to speak the message, and he smiled at me. And he came right here where I'm sitting at. And that's where he just pulled the gun out. And I didn't, it wasn't no time to react. It was like, this is not happening, and I just tried to get out of the way of him shooting, because he pointed it right at me. And I just see it, I'm looking right down the barrel of a gun.
So I'm going to show you an interview also from CBN News. And the interviewer is asking him kind of what he feels is the spiritual implications of everything that just happened. And I think this also kind of shows the mindset of where this armed man was in, and points to something deeper than just having a bad day or mental illness. I think this is really going to be telling what we're about to watch.
Well, on a spiritual perspective, to be honest with you, I'm totally grateful, because I understand the protection of God and the protection of God being with me, and this is nothing less than a miracle. Like I say, he left one scene and he came to another scene, and I really didn't fully answer your last question. When I asked him why did he do it, he said that there were spirits inside of his mind telling him to go shoot the pastor. And so,
talk real quick. A lot of people will say, well, that's just mental illness, but that's not what we're hearing here. He's saying there were spirits inside of him telling him to shoot the pastor. And we need to understand that as Christians, part of what we're called to do is cast out demons. We live in a world where people can be possessed by demons, and these demons are out here to kill, steal, and destroy. They're not happy to do just a little bit of, problems. They want to actually kill, steal, and destroy. And so when the pastor is saying that this gunman, this potential shooter, who actually unalived his cousin, we find out later, he's hearing spirits, and we need to take that seriously. I think sometimes we're so unused to the idea of the spiritual realm in the natural realm that we don't always know how to handle these things right. But this is another area where, as Christians, we need to be mindful. We have authority over spirits. Now, in this case, they did the only thing that they had time to do, and praise God that he jammed that bullet. That there must have been an angel that was in operation preventing that bullet from going off, because the pastor even says he heard the click of the gun. So let's finish watching this interview.
You know, knowing that and knowing that he, you know, one thing that he said to me is basically, this was the language that he used that I never heard before, but he said, "Today you ducked a taco." And I'm like, what did that mean? I ducked a taco, but I understood. He was saying, you know, I was shooting at your head and I missed you. And he was letting me know that, you know, he was told to come in here and shoot the pastor, you know. And then I asked him, well, why did he? I don't know why I did it. And he actually apologized to me. But I know
Really?
it was the grace of God, and I know it was a miracle because the gun jammed, and you could see when the officer came in and he emptied the clip of the gun and he removed the bullet was still in the chamber, and the bullet had markings of it getting jammed in there. And I don't, or like, you can't hear no shooting, but if you listen to the video closely, you can actually hear him clicking the gun.
In one of the interviews that he does, he literally says that the police officer, when he pulls out that bullet from the gun, shows it to him and says, "This bullet had your name on it." And so, man, this is just powerful to me, a powerful moment where God is really looking out for his church and protected this pastor. And I think this is an area we should give thanks. By the way, in this interview, I really want to show this because I just, my favorite part about this interview is the interview that they do with the man who stops the gunman.
Not only is he the pastor, he's my friend, you know what I mean? And, you know, that's how the mind reacts, you know what I mean? There's something that needed to be done, and I jumped up there and handled my business. Once the pastor had him in his custody, I took the gun off him.
Here he is, right here.
How's everybody
Hello,
doing?
sir. I'm doing
Hey,
great.
DC.
God bless you. What were you thinking when you saw that happen? You jumped right into action.
Hey, that's my pastor. I gotta handle my business. I don't want nothing to happen to him.
Yes, sir. Well,
Oh, great. Well, you know, this is one of those moments where I'm just grateful that everyone was able, and even that you know, he was, because this guy that just said I got to handle my business was actually operating the camera, so he was focused in on the camera. It took him a moment to realize what was actually happening from his point of view. So the second that he realized what happened, he literally runs after the gunman, jumps over the baluster, and tackles him to the ground. And then the other two men, the pastor and the other man on the stage, are able to kind of wrestle with him also and get the gun away from him. And then they're calling the police. Now, during that time, there's 12 minutes, he says, that he is waiting for the police to show up, in which he's able to talk to this you know, assailant, or this you know, gunman, and just ask questions like, hey, what's going on? Why did you do this? You know, and that's when he confessed that he was hearing spirits, hearing voices. And I just think, man, like, this could have been so different. And so we're just grateful that it is this way. So here's a part of the story that isn't covered if you are watching the earlier, where they were just talking about a man walking in and pointing the gun inside the church. The person who did this actually unalived his 56-year-old cousin earlier that morning before going into the church and attempting to unalive the pastor, to take him out also on top of everything else was going on. So in case people are thinking like, hey, maybe the gun was just faulty or whatnot, I mean, the gun worked earlier that morning, and now he's walking into the church to do the same exact thing he's already done. Police have him in custody for the charge of shooting his cousin and for pointing the gun at the pastor.
The man caught on video pointing a gun at a pastor preaching at church Sunday is now charged with killing his cousin at their home on Stokes Avenue in North Braddock earlier that day.
We were able to bring this case to a quick resolution thanks to the cooperation from the community and assistance from the Pennsylvania State Police and the criminalist at our medical examiner's crime lab.
Allegheny County Police Superintendent Chris Kearns says Bernard Polite shot Derek Polite once in the head. Police say he walked a few blocks away to Jesus Dwelling Place Church a few hours later, pointing the gun at Pastor Glenn Germany. The gun jammed, though, giving a church deacon time to tackle Polite and pull the gun away, holding him still until state police arrived. According to the criminal complaint, Derek Polite's family saw reports of Bernard's arrest and went to their home, where they found Derek dead in a pool of blood.
I don't know. I mean, this just to me is telling a bigger story of a man who I'm assuming, because there's a part of the interviews he even says he heard voices telling him to shoot the pastor. And so I'm assuming this man is demon possessed, has mental issues. Let's give him the whole gamut, right? And has chosen the way of violence and isn't happy enough that with what just happened that morning, it seems like he was out to do as much damage as possible before being arrested. So this is a miracle that we saw. And I will tell you this, if you attended church, we don't want to walk in fear, but man, it is time to start praying over your pastor, pray over your church, ask God to keep his hand upon the churches. And let's be mindful of what's going on inside these churches. I'd love to hear in the comments what you think about the situation too. Is there any area in this where you're like, man, I just can't believe this could happen in a church? Or maybe you've got concerns, or maybe you have questions like, why is this happening? Why is God allowing this to happen? And I don't know if we have great answers on this. I'll tell you this. God can turn all things, even evil intentions and bad events and bad moments. He can turn it around and get glory for it and actually make this something that will be beneficial in the picture of eternity. And that's hard when we're short term, when we just think small, right? Like all we think about is like how it affects us right now. But in the bigger picture, this is going to show a picture of the world we're living in and how God has his hand on this world. So love to hear from you guys. Comment below. Tell me what your thoughts are. And I'll catch you guys next time. If you would too, if you like videos like this and want to see more like this, do me a favor and like and follow. And I'd really appreciate that. We'll catch you soon. Bye, guys.